Blog Talk Radio.
Right. All praises to the Father, to the Most High, to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, to the Heavenly Mother, the Holy Ruach, and Yahweh Shai. All praises. We back. And in this time of, since our last conversation, things have happened. We have a queen off the board. And people don't quite recognize what that means. This chessboard that the Most High is playing, I mean, mainly against himself, he's great like that. But he's also playing the Gentiles because the Gentiles think that they're great like that. So the Most High's got all of his people, all of his pieces off the board. He allowed the Gentile to take them all, except for his king. The Gentiles, the heathen, have been playing this game with their weak king and their great queen. And they've had all their horses and their bishops and their pawns, their castles. They're all they're still on the board, and they're chomping down at the bit to destroy the king of Israel, the Most High's king. And he let him take everybody off the board, all his pieces, and he's been playing the last 7 years with this king. And he was patiently just moving around the board. They were chasing him down. He was moving around the board, just chasing him down, But he finally came to the 70 years. He was patiently waiting for the Gentiles to make all their moves in the 70th year. And when he did that, he took their queen. And as he has taken their queen, they have exposed their king. Now the Most High is in checkmate. No queen on the board. Everyone else is scattering. The Most High is taking their pawns out. He's taking their armies out, their horses. He's taking their bishops out, their religions. He's taking their castles out by burning them and flooding them. Now there's this weak king. They don't even know who's king. I mean, they're trying to make this king the king. I mean, there's only one king. The king that they have is not in the bloodline to be king. So now it's checkmate. And it's interesting because for so long they have been sitting back telling us, imposing their will onto the world, onto creation. They have been imposing their will. And we know that it was by sword, by hook or crook. They were going to take it. And they knew that, and they felt it, and that's what they wanted, and that's what they did. And the Most High allowed them to do that. And people, there's some confusion as to why the Most High would do that. But see, that's the beauty of the Most High. We don't have to worry about why. The why is of no consequence. The why should not make or break the deal, because the deal is the Most High. We know what the deal is, that the Gentiles come at the end and say, right? We know they come and say, are these the Negroes who we had in the vision? Our fathers have inherited lives. We have inherited lives from our fathers. We know what they're going to do. And it's funny because as you look at today, in our society today, we have a lot of Gentiles that are treating us fairly to some degree. I won't even say that. I'll take that back. They are acknowledging us. It's very interesting that they are now acknowledging what we have to say. 10 years ago, 2015, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, whatever, 100, whatever, all the way back, they never acknowledged us. They never, in particular, acknowledged a Negro man, an Israelite man. His thoughts, his ideas, his narrative, his interpretations, they didn't care about. They never once paid it any attention. Matter of fact, they dismissed it altogether. Oh, you Negroes ain't jank. Y'all ain't nothing. Y'all 3/5. My daddy said that you ain't nothing. My granddaddy said you ain't nothing. Now all of a sudden the tables have turned and they are not able to provide any type of substance to be able to gain any more authority. And in this authority that they have lost, we get to pick it up. We get to pick up the authority. And why do we get to do that? Because we are the king. We are the last ones on the board playing with the Most High. And we didn't even know. We just been playing the game, thinking that the Gentiles was in control and had the authority to do what they needed to do, and they were the kings and the queens and the priests and they were Judah and they were Levi and they were the 10 tribes. We didn't know, and even though we didn't know, we still believed. That's something to be said for our resolve, our endurance, our perseverance, as well as the Most High's creation, preservation, and his destruction. Because we've gone through the destruction. We've seen the destruction. We have dealt with the destruction. We have dealt with the psychosis that comes with the destruction. We've dealt with all of the anxiety, all of the emotions, all of the pain, the suffering that comes with that destruction. And now the tables have turned. Now the queen's off the board. Now we are back in authority. Spirit realm is loving it. It's like the words, the scriptures cry out. Excuse me. They cry out. They resonate a sound that is only heard by those that the Most High has chosen to hear them. Okay? So this sound, this mind, this sound, this conceptualization of hearing something, right? He said, let there be light. So his word was a sound. It was a voice. It was to be heard. And for a long time, we could not hear the Most High's resonance because the Gentiles were distracting us. They have done all they can to distract us, to lie to us, to make us believe something that is not. And in doing so, we became deaf, blind. Israel was blind until the fullness of the Gentiles come in. So blindness, can't see, can't hear, can't talk. That's all. That all goes along with it. We were in dysfunction. We were unable to recognize who we are. We were destroyed for lack of knowledge. And that knowledge is also, what you see, what you hear, what you touch, what all that encompasses knowledge. You have to deal with all of your senses to be able to understand something. And the Gentiles had distracted us for so long that our senses were dulled, were dulled. And it's interesting, even in their churchianity, they don't even acknowledge the action of the knowledge, meaning they don't acknowledge that you have to do something, that there has to be something's in motion. Like this is a motion creates knowledge. You can't stand still and think that by osmosis you're going to gain information. No, you have to do something to obtain something. You have to gain something. So as we are rising up, we're getting back to our inheritance. Part of our inheritance is the spirit realm, understanding that connection. But in that connection, that spirit realm is also to be heard as it is to be seen. That's why when, Jacob fell on his face, Paul fell, everybody that saw and heard the spirit realm couldn't cope with it at first. They had to build up a understanding of what they heard and what they saw. And this is all throughout the scriptures, okay? But why am I saying this? Because this past week I was thinking about verb, echo, and reverb. And I was trying to understand them all. Now, verb we know is an action. It is a to go, to do, to buy, to eat. These are things. These are action words, verbs. Okay. Then I was thinking, well, if a verb means action, what does a reverb mean, and how does that connect to an echo? Because I did a search and I said echoes in scriptures, and amazingly, there are echoes in Scripture. Psalms 19:4. Yet its voice echoes throughout the earth. Its words carried to the distant horizon. In the sky he has pitched a tent for the sun. Isaiah 15:8. Indeed, the cries of distress echo throughout Moabite territory. Their wailing can be heard in Eglon and Beerlem. And they want to say 2 Peter also. I can understand, but I'm not. But I'll read it. I am the Alpha and the Omega, says the Lord God, who is and who was and who is to come, the Almighty. So I'm assuming that echo of him making that statement is an echo, right? Because it echoes throughout time. So what I was trying to understand is, let me do Matthew 17:6-8. This is but an echo of the voice that spoke at Jesus' ritual cleansing and baptism. It is an echo of what God said through Moses during his final sermon on the Mount, okay? So we know that there's some echoes going on. Now we have to understand, what is an echo and how does that look to a reverb, okay? So an echo and reverberation are pretty much the same concepts. They are both time-based audio effects. Now, we're talking about music here, but music, in hearing it and how it comes across, is a spiritual. It is spiritual within itself. Music, okay. So it says they are both time-based audio effects resulting from the reflection of sound on hard surfaces. The difference between reverb and echo lies in time. Echo is a long reflection of sound on a far hard surface, while reverb has a way shorter reflection time. So a reverb, the difference is more like it's a reverb is a sound that comes from multiple sources. Okay, reverb is multiple sources in a smaller. It could be like in a small area, then you're not going to get as much reverb as you would in a larger area. Okay, let me find that real quick, because we just I just want to talk about this real quick, because I think it's interesting that this is about hearing now. This is about understanding, because see, the heathen can't get this energy, this resonance, this reverberation, this vibration. They can't get it. It's not in them to get. It's like and they can't get it because they can't get right. They just can't get right. This is why we shouldn't be mad at them per se. We ain't got to like them, but we ain't got to be mad at them because they just can't get right. It's just like Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence's life. That was that brother that they said just can't get right. Okay? So in this just can't get right scenario, this is how the heathen Gentiles are. They just can't get right. It's just not in them to get right. So that would mean that there is another people, a remnant of people that will be able to get right. And in getting right, we have to see properly, we have to hear properly, we have to speak properly. And I know brothers, Big Judah, Big Levi, Naomi, they're coming with esoteric, Adi, the other brother, the other Haitian brother. These brothers are coming with esoteric information so that we can understand that we do have a connection to our inheritance. And part of that connection is to understand how to hear it, because our senses have been deadened so much that the Gentiles have done a great deed, a great evil to us in terms of our senses, our antennas for the Most High. And all praises to the Most High, because He has decalcified our antennas so that we can start seeing and hearing and speaking how He wants us to speak in His kingdom and hear in His kingdom and see in His kingdom. Some of the things that we've been seeing, like we can see that every show, every TV show, every movie, it's all about killing, stealing, and destroying. That's how you know they can't get right, because not one show. And then when they do bring these, little shows about, they want to do spiritual shows, whatever, I don't make it. They make it so over the top. It's so Christianity that it is so far gone. It's like, okay, we need to help everybody, and it's a good feeling at the end. And you see, it becomes unrealistic, because their character is not righteous. Their actions are not righteous. What they say is not righteous. And I can say that emphatically, because we need only look at our civilization, our society as a whole today. The Gentile is not doing the right thing. He's not. He, she, it, whatever, they, even in that, the audacity of the Gentile heathens to act as if they can change who they were created to be is amazing to me. It's like, oh, well, shoot, I don't want to be. And now all these young men and women, especially men, who were taking all these things to be something that they're not, now they're coming out saying that they don't want to. Now things are not as they should be on their bodies, and now they're having problems, and now they're suicidal. Well, I mean, your fathers allowed this to happen. And as they deaden our senses and emotions, they also deaden theirs to the spirit, to the righteous seed. So all these things that are happening today proves that these people can't get right. And you know what's funny? The good news is that Israel can. Israel not only can, but Israel will. See, that's an action verb. Will do. Will be. That's the beauty of all of this. That's the beauty of it all. That's the mercy, the beauty, the blessings of it all, which we fail to remember because we've been distracted and for so long with wickedness that I can only imagine how beautiful it was when we were all as one country, one nation, and we were connected. I mean, I know how it feels to not be connected. So it's terrible. Just like Deuteronomy says, you be in fear. You're in fear because that's how to be connected, you have faith. That means that is not fear. But to not be connected, it is to not have faith, which means you will be in fear. And we've shaken those yokes off. He's broken those yokes off of us. He has provided us with insight, with words to say, with our own minds connected to his mind that contradict what the heathen Gentiles talk about. Just like now, they run around, oh, we got to give a moment of silence for, the queen, the queen. And I'm thinking to myself, what in the Phil Florin, Johnny Dangerous, what in the Phil Florin are we caring about this queen? She wasn't my queen. This queen oversaw the demise of many of my people under her authority. Not one time did she come out and say, you know what, shoot, the way we treated these Negroes is wrong. We need to give back their treasures. We need to get back their gold. We need to get back their land. Not one time. Not one time. So why am I to feel anything for this queen? And that's the question, right? Because in truth, these people from England and Britain or whatever, they want to believe that they are Judah. They have a right to the throne. They don't even say Jacob, they say Judah. And how do they connect themselves with Judah? They connect themselves through Judah by way of Judah's not stepdaughter, his daughter-in-law, who had sex with him as a prostitute. Judah, they had twins, Perez and I think somebody else, and I'm gonna get to that in a second. But they connect themselves through Dan. This is their claim to fame, through Dan. And see, the funny thing is that we now get to see this. I've always wondered, how these people even have audacity to say that they are Judah when they don't even look like Judah. They do it through Dan. And we know that Dan ain't even, Dan was a unrighteous brother. And he was cut off. That's all we know. But I'm gonna go into it. I'm gonna play a clip that goes into that because I'm not gonna reinvent the wheel. This sister has brought great information, and I'm gonna use it fair use, education purposes only, because all of us have to enlighten each one of us in order to get back to the kingdom. Okay. I'm not going to reinvent the wheel, and nor am I going to throw the baby out with the bathwater. With all the knowledge out here, I'm going to eat the meat, spit out the bones, because that's the proper thing to do. Okay? So this whole concept of them trying to rule over us, they can't even rule themselves. They can't even rule their own people. They have lost the moral authority. Okay? But getting back to this reverb thing, that's what I was getting to. Hold on one second. I'm going to get to it because I found it interesting. Is it not there? I'll try to do this one. Let's see. Is this?
What is echo and what is reverb? And what's the difference between the two? We're going to look at these two things and try to figure out just exactly what they are.
Now, this is all music interpreted, but at the same time, if you have an ear to hear what he's saying, it is very spiritual. It becomes a very spiritual, connected for us. Watch this.
Coming up.
Oh my goodness. Come on. Oh, come on.
Hi, my name's Todd, and this is the Learn About Music channel. We're glad that you're here. We're going to examine enlightening, because sometimes the topics of echo and reverb are talked about all the time, and you'll hear something, somebody will play something and say, boy, that sounds kind of echoey. Or you have some instance where you hear something, oh, that sounds like feedback. And sometimes we get these terms confused, and I thought it would be helpful that we can go ahead and distinguish the difference between what reverb is and what echo is. So both of these effects are phenomena that happen in nature, and they are also have been mechanically reproduced both in sound production and for music production.
See, this is what they do. They can't get this naturally. They can't connect the echo and the reverb naturally. They can't hear this naturally. So they have to recreate it mechanically because that's how they think.
Now, I did a video earlier talking about naturally occurring reverb and what that was, but I want to kind of go through that just a little bit so that we can do this contrast between what reverb is and what echo is. So when we look at this diagram, you can see that we have a sound source on one end. That could be my voice. That could be an instrument. It might be a speaker even. And if we use the example of a voice, as the sound leaves my mouth, it's going to travel outward, and it's going to go in many directions as it leaves my mouth. The ceiling, it's going to hit the walls, it's going to hit the floor, it's going to hit the back wall, and what's going to happen is it's going to bounce back, and eventually it's going to rise back at my ears, and I'm going to hear the effect of my voice bouncing around the room. Then our brains figure out what they're hearing, and so if I'm in a smaller room, that bounce back, that time that it takes for the sound to bounce around the room is very short, and so there's very little delay between the time I speak and the sound that comes back. I'm in a small room right now, and there's not a lot of reverb that you actually would hear with my voice. So that's an example of a very small room. But in certain rooms, you might have a larger room, and so it takes some time to reflect off the many surfaces, and as it comes back, you're going to have a lot of delay coming from multiple directions.
So this delay, you heard what he said? He said in a large room, then, you know, it'll come back. It'll take some time, and it takes time, right? So if we talk about micro and macro, right? So understand what he's saying, in terms of micro when he's talking about small rooms, and understand what he's talking when he's talking about larger rooms in the macro. So the macro would be the universe, the totality. This is the reverberation of the universe when the Most High is giving us information like he's doing now. We're getting it from multiple sources. He's saying his word is resonating. Everything's coming around. It's coming to us via multiple sources. And that in itself is spiritual too, but it's a contradiction to the Gentiles because they say it's only one source. So we're going to keep going. I don't want to slow this down, but I just thought that'd be interesting. All right.
Key here is when we talk about reverb is that it's multiple sources. So as in the instance of leaving my mouth and going around the room, it becomes many different sources as it hits many different places in the room, and they arrive back at my ears at different times. And
that's so huge. It arrives back to your ears in different times, the larger it gets. So we're now at a time consummation, a time where all of this information, all of this knowledge, all this understanding, this wisdom has bounced back over the ages to us. Now we get it. See, and the Gentiles they can't understand this concept conceptually because it's just not for them to understand. It doesn't resonate within their loins. It just doesn't. And there will be some, but it's a strong Gentile who breaks that yoke of Gentilism and heathenism. So let's keep going.
Differentiator is that there's multiple sources arriving back at the listener, and it creates an effect of the size of the room, and reverb is often used to add warmth to certain instruments so that they sound.
You see that? So they sound beautiful. Wait a minute.
Certain way here. So
it adds warmth. It adds comfort. this reverb, this what we hear, this sound, it adds comfort to us, warmth. It hasn't added comfort and warmth to them. Otherwise, we wouldn't be in this situation we're in today. We'll keep going.
Let's take a look at some of the examples of these. So we have an example of a piano here, and this is dry. There's no effect added to it at all, so you can hear that. So that's just a regular piano and how it sounds. We're going to go ahead now, and we're going to put this signal into a large sounding room and see what it sounds like. Okay, let's see what it sounds like now. You hear it has a lot of length to it. So even though I let go of the key, it carries on, and it carries. You can tell it's a very large room, and all those reflections takes a little bit of time.
Reflection.
In this instance, it looks like it's taking about 5.6 milliseconds of time. Yeah, you can hear all that.
See, that's it. So the larger the scale, the more the reverb, the more you get. And at the end days, the reverb was going to be great because he said until the fullness of the Gentiles come in. So you would think that after we're gone through our situation, Jacob's trouble, now we get to hear correctly. We get to see correctly. We get to talk correctly. We get to think correctly. And in doing those things, that's our reverb. I'm going to keep going. I just want to interject.
Let's look at a medium-sized room. Okay. It cuts off. So you can tell it's a little bit smaller sized room here, and your ears fill it in. They're like, oh yeah, I've been in that room. Now let's take a look at a smaller room, maybe a room about this size.
So he said your ears fill it in. So that's why today when the Most High was rising us up and giving us information, and we're eating this meat, edifying ourselves, all of a sudden we start recognizing these different things within Scripture that was never told to us, and then it resonated with us, it reverbed with us, and we're like, we filled it in. Oh yeah, I've been there before. I can accept that. I can see that. This is what they do. They have utilized every piece of our inheritance. They just put a different name on it. They'll say, oh yeah, blue is red, red is blue, black is white, white is black. They'll flip the whole thing up because they don't want us to grasp and hear and see and know. But the moment we do, everything changes. That's what you're seeing today. Everything is changed.
So there's not going to be a lot of time between the time the sound leaves and comes back. Let's try it out. Okay. Very small. Very small indeed. So this is an example of 3 different sized rooms and how we would distinguish what reverb is. It gives you the sense of space and size. Now, echo is different. It is sometimes called delay. And the main difference between reverb and echo is that echo is a single source. It's a single sound that goes, it hits something, and it comes back. So the naturally occurring version of this would be that if I went to Red Rocks Amphitheater, which is here in Denver, and I went to the middle of the scene and I yelled out to one of the walls, hey, you would hear a delay come right back. And it would echo off one side of the wall and then echo off the other side of the wall. So that's basically what an echo does. Here's an example.
Hold up. Let's go back. Echoes in Scripture. Yet its voice echoes throughout the earth. Psalms 19:4. Yet its voice echoes throughout the earth. Its words carry to the distant horizon. In the sky he has pitched a tent for the sun. Isaiah 15:8. Indeed, the cries of distress echo throughout Moabite territory. territory. Their wailing can be heard in Eglam, and Bir Elim. See, so this echo, this reverb is ours. It's ours.
So as long as there's something to bounce off of it, it's going to bounce and come back. Now, it can get a little confusing here because in naturally occurring instances, an echo also does create multiple sound sources and eventually does create.
See there? It's ours. Echo is to reverb as reverb is to echo. It's our information. It's how we gain information. It's how the Israelites understood things. Their echo, that the Gentiles' echo over these last 1,000, 2,000 years, 3,000 years was Jesus, 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 church, 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 Pope, 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 Rome, 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 white, 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 white. This is their echo. This is their reverberation. This is their only frequency. One source. But when you open it up and it becomes a reverb with multiple sources, you get Jeremiah, you get Isaiah, you get Jacob, you get Shem, you get Enoch, you get Methuselah, you get Adam, you get all these different things. You get Christ, you get Ruth, you get Rebecca. These are reverberations of the same word. This is how we gain insight, by understanding the totality of it. It's always been that way with Israel. We had to understand the totality of it. Once we understood the totality of it, then the lower levels didn't matter. But when the heathen took over our scriptures and we became dead in the street, all they wanted us to understand was Jesus, 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 church, 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 rapture, 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 forgive, forgive, forgive. And the whole time they're cutting our throats, raping and stealing and killing. And listen, I'm not against them people because they're going to get what's coming to them. That is a fact. It's already began. But I have to explain it like this to give the facts of the matter, because most Gentiles and heathens do not want to know the truth. So for Israel, who has been told lie on top of lie on top of lie on top of lie, we have to be able, as a nation, as a group, individually, we have to be able to knock these lies down. We have to take them away. We have to, by any means necessary, destroy these lies. And this is how we're doing it, by taking back our inheritance. And our inheritance equates to everything. That is hard to fathom, but it is everything that we know in this world is ours.
A reverb kinds of effect. In the mechanical version of that,
there you go,
reverb kinds of effect. Reverb kinds of effect. The occurring instances. An echo also does create multiple sound sources and eventually does create a reverb kinds of effect. In the mechanical version of that, an echo is generally thought of like what you just heard. You're hearing a single echo come back with something, and mechanically we can address the length of that. Is it going to repeat again and again? Is it going to repeat only once? And so it's a very different.
That's all I wanted to talk about, because you see, he said in the mechanical, we can determine if we're gonna let you hear it over and over again, if we're gonna let you hear it once. See, this is how we look at these things from a spiritual perspective now. Everything that they say now, they're saying to us, because we now have the moral authority. we now have our ears back. All right. So that said, we move on. Now, going back to this queen scenario, we have to recognize that these people are not of Israel. First and foremost, they are not of Israel. If they were, and the reason why, again, I can emphatically say that, because if they were, the society that we are in today would not be in the dire straits that it is today. You have to recognize that. That is a given. It's like geometry. That's a given. If the world was righteous, we'd be living righteously. If the world was wicked, we'd be living wickedly. So you make the decision. Are we living as a total? Are we living righteously or wickedly? Now, there is only a remnant that would be living righteously. Remember that. So that means that on the whole, the entire world is living wickedly. Okay? So there is no Israel in these people. That's why the whole, Israeli thing and being over and them going into the land in 1994, that doesn't even make sense. That doesn't fit scriptures. Okay? All right. So here we're going to get back to the gates of Huldah. This young lady is dynamite. She brings forth a lot of information, and I'm going to let this go for a good bit, and I'm going to be interjecting as we go, but she gives a lot of good information. So here we are.
Order to rule the world.
Well,
you see where descendants from the tribe of Judah and the Levites, by way of Zerah, the brother of Perez, son of Judah. The British Empire and Church of England are the modern-day manifestation of the true kingdom of God. The British have been chosen by God to build a world empire in order to rule the world. Do you see where this idea of one world government came from? So I'm going to share some things with you from this book called The Missing Links, or the Anglo-Saxons, the 10 tribes of Israel. And you can see they have words written here, 1,000 historical and prophetical proofs of our Hebrew-Saxon ancestry, from the call of Abraham until the kingdom is delivered up, showing the one plan of redemption. It declares why America is a republic and not a monarchy. Our national triumph in government, commerce, wealth, civilization, and religion. So
crazy.
this book was written in 1901 by Reverend Morton W. Spencer.
Churchianity, Reverend. Oh, well, this is my pontification of how we Caucasians from the Caucasus Mountains are actual Israelites from the Promised Land. It doesn't even coincide.
So I encourage you to look it up if you have the opportunity to get a copy of this. So it says, the historic and prophetic records of the Bible were written during a period of 1,600 years. The first gives an account of ancient and the latter of modern Hebrews. In other words, the Anglo-Saxons are the modern Hebrews. It says their story reads more like a fairy tale among the mountains than the figuring of facts in history. Our attention will be frequently arrested by their national power and greatness. We shall see them under the cloud of glory led by the hand of Moses, then of darkness in the captivity of Assyria, united in God's worship and scattered in idolatry. It says, we shall follow the tribe Dan to their encampment in Greece and their...
Like I said, these people are whack. They already go off. Like they make these, they write these words that sound fluffy and beautiful, but then immediately they go off. So we shall follow the tribe Dan to their encampment in Greece. But why? Why are we following Dan? It doesn't make sense.
To the Emerald Isle. We shall trace the tribe of Judah and the house of David from their last reigning king over the Jews to their successful establishment in the royal house of Hanover, of which
Wait a minute. All right, let me do.
Queen Victoria is an honored member.
So this is why the Most High has taken out their queen. This is why these people have to pay double, because they have usurped everything. And Dan was full of idolatry, and she's going to go into it. Dan was full of idolatry and wickedness, and the Most High didn't like him, and he had him cut away. But this is their 13th tribe. See, this is what they do. This is how they have manipulated themselves into our story. Our story is the true story of the world. Their story is the pseudo story of the world. This is everything that they do is pseudo. It's fake.
We shall follow the tribes of Israel from the foot of the Caucasus Mountains, along the slopes of the Alps, through the fertile valleys of Central Europe to their island home in the western seas. We shall see how the tribe of Benjamin, before joining his brethren, tarried in Jerusalem until he was endowed with power from on high. So I'm continuing and highlighting some key points. Again, if you're able to get a copy of this, please do so, and you can read the entire text. So the author says, this reverend, we may enjoy in anticipation the new colonization of the Hebrews in Palestine and the foregleam of the world to come. In fine, we may discover why the Anglo-Saxon race has become the dominant power in law, commerce, education, and religion, and why we are enjoying the very blessings promised to Abraham more than 3,000 years ago. And
see, this is that madness. But, it's funny, Brother Judah, talks about this all the time. They love to talk about these blessings. Oh, God, the Lord has blessed us with all the things. They don't ever want to talk about destruction. So here we are talking about blessings. This is their mindset. They're talking about the blessings that they were getting, but they don't ever want to talk about the curses that will come, because in order to have a blessing, there has to be a cursing. Otherwise, we'd be living in a righteous world. They don't ever want to talk about that. They already do the converse of everything. Up is down, down is up. Left is right, right is left. But yet, when it comes to this blessing piece, they don't ever want to talk about the curse. They don't ever want to go blessing and cursing, blessing and cursing. They just want to talk about these curses. That's why they're going to pay. And they're going to pay double. Give unto them double. And this doubling down on them is going to hurt them. It's going to break them. We already see it's breaking them now in the news. They're struggling. Mentally and physically, they're struggling. Their idea of beauty, success, love, honor, marriage, religions, education, all that stuff is gone. It's in the dumps. All that stuff that they have put forth in the world today is being shown, is being revealed, and I'm using wicked in terms of no value. Remember? They're going to come at the end and say, things of value. Their whole conceptualization, their whole ideas have been of no value. This guy in his, Anglo-Saxon race has become the dominant power in law, commerce. Well, if it has become the dominant power, then that means it was not at some point. It wasn't always the dominant because it just became. So there was something before it that was dominant. See, these are these words. This is English. This is these English words that they want to use against us. Now, remember, 1901. What was 1901? We weren't able to read. We were just coming up. We were just coming up out of the doldrums of slavery. Remember, 3/5 of human? You niggas ain't nothing. But 1901, here this Gentile over here pontificating in 1901 how they are the Hebrew Israelites. Let's go on.
Not the least, that we are foremost of all the races of the earth in incorporating and sending forth the spirit of that divine religion of love to God and humanity, set forth, listen, in the New Testament, the second covenant to Israel. See,
they always talk smooth things. They always want to bring you. They want you to believe that they cooking your food with butter, but they're actually using margarine. It's smooth like butter, but it ain't butter. It's lie. It's fake. And New Testament, the second covenant to Israel. This is how they, while we were still blind, they were able to conceptualize and put this nonsense out there. And the Most High is brilliant because he was like, yo, I'm going to let them put this stuff out here. So at the end, when their time has come and my remnant get hold of this, they'll understand and see these people's error and come up out of her. Let's move on.
So he uses several examples to show that Anglo-Saxons are the modern Israelites. Listen to this one. He says, they should be a multitude of nations, according to Genesis 48:19. They should be a Christian people, according to Isaiah 45:25. They should be missionaries, according to Isaiah 66:19. And above all, the Holy Spirit shall be poured upon them, according to Isaiah 44:3. Thus, to show the certainty of our position, we have simply to find a people or race in whom all these and many other prophetic characteristics are displayed. Such, we claim, is found in the Anglo-Saxon race.
So here we go again. These people who have killed, stole, destroyed, raped, pillaged, did all types of wickedness on the earth. These Anglo-Saxons. Now remember, that's another show, but do some due diligence on what the Anglo-Saxons did, their history, and you'll see that they were just nothing but killers, murderers, and thieves. And here these people are. Again, we were blind, so this was their fairy tale. This was how they made themselves, how they recreated themselves when they came out of their own doldrums, okay? When they were the bottom and we were the top, they wanted to be us. Once we went to the bottom and they went to the top, they created these false narratives as we were blind. They created these false narratives to make themselves higher than they were supposed to be. Anglo-Saxon race.
Continuing, he says, Lieutenant Richard Brothers, R.N., published in 1795 the history of our Saxon origin, connecting us with the lost 10 tribes. Half a century later, the theme was treated by the late John Wilson in Our Israelite Origins. In 1860, the detailed discussions were published by Edward Hine, a later pioneer. We are indebted to our English brethren for the publication of many notable works on this subject, for lectures, books, and tracts. Now, after years of study in this new school of history,
how are you the Israelites, and this is a new school of history to you guys? How is it that it just doesn't even add up? It's not adding up. Okay, 1795. Where were the Israelites? They were in captivity. So of course now all of a sudden they got to create these narratives.
We record our humble testimony to its wealth of beauty and utility in Scripture.
So when we were blind and they were making up all these lies, their lies, they're good about that, but you don't see any of them talking about that today. You don't see any of them talking about they are the 10 tribes, they are Israel. You don't see any of them talking about that today. So where'd all that go?
Now, apparently, they say that the first Hebrews in Britain were Danites. So this comes from chapter 2. And it says, the tribe of Dan, by its enterprise and valor, has made itself not the least conspicuous among the different members of Jacob's family. Dan, from whom the tribe was named, was the son of a concubine and the firstborn of Rachel's household. So his name means to judge or rule. And they say Dan's name, given by Rachel, implies authority and physical vigor. And David, when bestowing his blessings...
Well, let's back up. It says, Dan, from whom the tribe was named, was the son of a concubine and the firstborn of Rachel's household. God hath judged me, she said, and called his name Dan, which means to judge or rule often in the Bible. The name of an individual foreshadows character and career.
Coming from Genesis 49:16, repeats and confirms it. So apparently they believe their right to rule also comes through the Danites. Mm-hmm. So let's keep going. Now let's look at this other source regarding Dan. And there are some things to consider here about this tribe. This comes from Truth of God, and they're talking about the tribe of Dan, the trailblazing pioneers of Israel. So it says, history demonstrates that the Israelite tribe of Dan played a key role in the establishment of the birthright tribes of Ephraim and Manasseh in the new homeland in the British Isles. The Danites established colonies in the Isles long before Israel's fall to the Assyrians, thus paving the way for later migrating Israelites to follow.
We know through other historical books, such as the Black Celts, that the Druids were in the British Isles first. So where is this Dan coming from? This is why it's so mad. It's just madness.
Moreover, the Danites' proclivity for leaving waymarks wherein they would rename various geographical areas based on their tribal name, Dan, has proven useful in identifying areas relevant to lost Israel's migrations. It goes on to say that in this article, or in its article on Celtiberia, referring to the Celtic colonization of Iberia, and they're talking about modern Spain and Portugal, according to the Encyclopedia Americana, it says that the Celtic migrations to Iberia occurred as early as 1000 BC. Also talks about Danites and Phoenicians widely exploring the Mediterranean and colonizing areas such as Iberia and beyond. But what I find interesting about the tribe of Dan is that they're not mentioned in Revelation 7. They're left out of the genealogy of First Chronicles. And if you do a study on them, you'll see that as a whole, the tribe was guilty of idolatry. They stole other people's idols and set them up to be used in their own worship based on Judges 18.
Genesis
and
18.
Then,
so, does that not sound familiar? Let's back up, because she says who Dan is, right? Does that not sound familiar?
find interesting about the tribe of Dan is that they're not mentioned in Revelation 7. They're left out of the genealogy of First Chronicles.
Yes.
And if you do a study on them, you'll see that as a whole, the tribe was guilty of idolatry. They stole other people's idols and set them up to be used in their own worship based on Judges 18. And then...
See there? Does that not sound like the Gentiles? Is that not their MO? They steal other nations' idols and use them for themselves.
And there are various symbols associated with this tribe, to include lion, snake, eagles, griffin, and dragon. So what's most telling about the children of Dan is that they established their own priesthood in Judges 18. So these are just...
I'm just going to create my own priesthood. I'm just going to create my own narrative. I'm just going to create my own covenant. Is that not these people? So we wondered, well, whatever happened to Dan? Well, they're telling you who they are. They're telling you. The heathens are a derivative of Esau, Horites, Dan, and all the other abominable people that the Most High had no love for. We are humans. We are humans. We have hue. Hue is color. These people, these Danites, these Edomites, they are mankind. They are like man. And again, they say these things. They in our face say these things all the time. Mankind, mankind, mankind. They're telling us that they are not human, but they want to act like we are not human. And they did, and they even wrote it in their bylaws, and they instituted legislation all around the world to stipulate that we are not human, hence why they can steal, kill, and rob us and rape us. And now the tide has turned. The whole concept of Gentile rule is now becoming an afterthought. Because, shoot, they can't even rule themselves. Their queen is dead. The Most High has them at checkmate. Their economic system is collapsing. They want to say, it's so funny. They go about inflation. They're like, the Fed's going to have to do something because inflation is, man, inflation's been going on forever. And now we're in a point where they can't control their own economy. They got, U.S. Bank, no plug for them, no commercial plug for them, but U.S. Bank has come out with a loan program to give no money down to minority, to the Negro borrower. Okay, so they want to go buy a house or get whatever lending that they want to do, or what need to obtain, they don't have to put any money down. So it's really for a mortgage. Okay, but isn't that interesting that now the lenders, they're just trying to give can't really lend anymore. Okay? I'm a lender. I underwrite. And I'm seeing this. I'm seeing how the market is changing. Like for so long, they would have programs set forth for, of course, the Gentile, the so-called white person. They also had programs set up for the Hispanic or Latino, whatever that means, person. Okay, but nowhere, ever, never, ever have they ever had programs set up for the Negro. The one program that they had, you know what they called it? They called it subprime. Subprime. So, that's like you going to a Ruth Chris or some high-end steakhouse, and you said, you know what? I know y'all a high-end steak, and you got this great, exceptional meat, but you know what? I want that subprime meat. Then go, I don't know. You got to go. We don't do that. So this is the causality and the effect of all the things that they have done is now today being revealed. This whole concept of them having Jacob stone, the stone under the seat for coronation is ridiculous. Oh, they got that because they, so this princess who they said was a Egyptian and a Hamite, and then they said, oh, we don't really know if she's a Hamite. She's a, she might be a Japhite, but you know what? Matter of fact, we're just going to say she's a daughter of Zion. Now, how? They're just making stuff up. And I mean, if you do a search, if you do a study on that stone, that's the story that you'll get. Some princess brought in from Scotland and married some Irish dude. And it's like, come on, guys. How do you, even the Judean Jerusalem is not even in Europe. Like, I don't even understand the concept that they would have in their mind to believe that they are next to the father of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. Like, nowhere in scriptures does it say the Gentiles will be, the Gentiles are the ones that are the remnant. They are the ones that I have made a new covenant with. That's not in there. It's nowhere in there. That's why we talk about the good news for Israel, because people need to understand we get good news. We get the good news at the end. They got the good news in the middle, not even the beginning. They got good news. I'm gonna bring my people down, and you're gonna substitute in their stead to rule over my creation for a time. And again, this is just facts of the matter. This is why they don't want us to read. This is why they have never had us give our interpretation, our narrative. Because back in the day, we would just go with Israel. Yeah, Jesus white, everybody white. The white man, he in control, and he's on top, and he's God. But when all that changed, and we're like, whoa, hair of nappy wool and feet of burnt bronze, that seems like a Negro? All bets were off. The gloves came off then. We've been bare knuckling it right now in the spiritual realm against the Gentiles' demons. Remember, he said he's going to break the yoke. In the end, he's going to break the yoke off of Jacob's neck. That yoke is strong. That yoke is something that is put around our minds to get us to believe that these people who say they are but are not are in control. It's like some of these prepper stations, all they talking about is, oh, it's going to be, 10 to midnight, it's World War III is going down, people got to die, there's going to be death. And it's like, for you, and where does that say in the book? It doesn't say that, oh, well, I'm going to let the Gentiles blow up my creation. It doesn't. This is why they cannot get right. This is why I'm calling them can't get right. Because even in the midst of saying, hey, you may need to reconsider your thought process and consider another one, or hey, maybe you may need to read these extra books. No, doing that. See, they won't consider, therefore they can't get right. That's why the good news is that Israel can get right. Israel will get right. Israel is right. And that's why we get to have this authority at this time and use it wisely, like our ancestors of old. Not our forefathers, who were bamboozled by the Edomites and their religions and their traditions and their governments, but our great ancestors, the righteous ones. We get to reverb that. We get to echo that. We get to hear them here. It's like hearing them for the first time. It's beautiful. It resonates beautifully with our spirits. It makes us smile. It makes us cry. It makes us want to worship. It makes us emotional to be able to understand who we are. You say to these people today, you go, I'm not black. I'm not black. Yeah, where's a nation called black? A continent that's called black. Well, why do you get to say you're French this or German that or Moroccan this or Polish that? You get to have a name in front of where you currently reside, but we only get to have two continents. Why is that? Is that because Jesse sold out Bootleg Jackson? He's not my creator. He's not my leader. He's not my Messiah. Why do I have to have these bywords associated to me? Aha, because of the curses. But once those curses go, now we get to gain who we are again. And I will tell people, when you go somewhere and they say, what's your race? Or now they've got it tricky. They say ethnicity and race. Okay, ethnicity and race. So ethnicity will be Israelite, race will be Hebrew. And when you start putting this on there, that also resonates. That also is an echo that goes out into the world. Because they're going to go, I got this black guy, this black woman said that she's an Israelite Hebrew. What is that? And they get to talking. Now it's reverberating. Now it's echoing. People are hearing it. This is how the Most High does things. This is why He is great. This is why He is. This is why. This is why. Because He already told us what was going to go down. I mean, these Gentiles are running around talking about, oh, God's a girl, God's a woman. Listen. If the Most High created man and woman, I'm sure that He has all man and woman in Him. But He is not he nor she, but we say he because that is what our forefathers say. Because we're patriarchs, not a patriarch. We're not queen rule us. That's another thing. If these people were of Israel, true Israel, why are they worshiping queens? Why are they worshiping Mary? They only want to worship Jesus. Like when their Christianity began, all they were doing was worshiping Jesus. And the Protestants came and they worshiped Jesus as a man. Both scenarios is they worshiping Jesus. You're supposed to love the Father and treat your brother or your neighbor like you want to be treated. He told us this. But these Gentiles who can't hear, can't see, can't get right, don't want to acknowledge that. So they set themselves in they set themselves in their own temples with our information, talking about, oh, we're just going to flip the script. We're just going to say it's a queen. Forget the king. We want a queen. Because they couldn't have a king. It wasn't for them to have a king. Their king will be exposed as he is today. And their queen will die their king will die just like their queen. The only king that will be left on this board, this chessboard, is the Most High. Period. That's what the whole book's about. He sends Christ back. Christ becomes the king. His king. He comes after Christ does all the purging, and he comes and sits on the throne with Christ. His king, our king, King David, through Judah. That's why, all of this madness, and David isn't even the word. That's just an English translation. So everything that they have given us, everything that we think, how we think, the words that we even think of are incorrect. That's why we have to be better. We have to be bigger. We have to be completely separated. We don't need to listen to churchianity. I'm telling you, churchianity is what got us into the situation that we were in. Why would we want to continue with that? We are doing very good, remnant brethren and sisters. We are doing very good moving forward. We are moving with the Most High. We're letting the Most High move us on this board as his king. Okay? Kings synonymous with the nation, synonymous with the king, the women and the men, kings and queens, okay? And priests, everything. His king is left. And he's destroying the Gentiles with it. And you know what's funny? That was that strategy to let somebody take all of your pieces and then you just beat them with the king has happened. The master chess player has happened. So this is not beyond the realm or scope of logic that the Most High would utilize the same trick in the spirit realm. So, we have come to the end of their rule, and we are thankful. We are very, very, very thankful. We see all their tricks, their tomfoolery. We see it all. We see just about all we can see from them. Just like we've gained all we can gain from them, we're done with them. We've moved forward. This Jacob's ladder that we're on, they were in the middle of Jacob's, or they were at the top of Jacob's ladder before it ascended further into the spiritual realm. They were at the top of Jacob's ladder in the exoteric, in the physical. That's why they can't get out of the firmament. So they've gone as high as they can in Jacob's ladder within this snow globe, if you will, that we live in, this earth concept. Okay, they are at the top. They were at the top physical. That means their balloons and their little planes. They couldn't go any higher, because to go higher past that meant that you had to understand esoteric connections. You had to be energy. You had to recognize vibration. And they couldn't get it. Shoot, we already know, and it's so funny, like, when I was growing up, white dudes and girls, they really couldn't dance like talking about. Their rhythm was suspect. And, even when my parents were growing up, their rhythm, the white folks' rhythm was suspect. Matter of fact, the whole time, their rhythm has been suspect. So how can they hear vibration? How can they feel rhythm? How can they understand this energy? Their energy, now think about it. In their dance, their energy, they had a rhythm, they had a melody, but their rhythm was not the same as ours. Our body moved. Our body resonated. They couldn't cope with that now because they have imposed their will on us, and they have, mixed us all. Some of them have some rhythm. It's just like cultural appropriation. This is what they do, and the Asians, same thing. They cultural appropriate us. Their little K-pop, the Koreans and their K-pop. But they can have that of ours. They can have that exoteric movement and vibration of ours. We give it to them. We gladly give it to them. But they took it. They didn't ask for it. They took it. But we're at another level now. We've made the transformation. Some of us, not all. We've made the transformation from where the top Gentiles are to where we now move to the next level in Jacob's ladder. They now are coming down. We're moving up on Jacob's ladder. This esoteric understanding is so key and huge to our heritage, to our ancestors, that our ancestors, they're glad. Yet they still are wondering, they're still crying to the Father to bring justice to these Gentiles. And it's funny because it's sad. It's not even funny. It's sad. The Gentiles will be destroyed. And it's sad because when you sit back and really think about them today, look at how much sorrow they have. When we were going through our sorrows and our downtroddenness, they didn't care one bit. Matter of fact, they spit, peed, yelled, beat. They did everything in the negative while we were in our sorrows to create even more sorrow on us. Okay? Didn't care at all about it. But the irony is that in their sorrow, we're going to care. We feel for them, some of us. But there's nothing we can do. See, the difference was when we were in our sorrow and they were doing more sorrowful things to us, they could do something about it. But they chose not to. But this sorrow that they're going to go through, we can't do anything about it. This is going to be this sorrow, this judgment has come from the Father. It has nothing to do with us. That's why them, we're going to do better. We're going to be righteous. Sorry, say that. You better go talk to. You better repent and come roll with us, because the Father don't want to hear that no more. That's what He's saying. He doesn't. You've done all you have done by your will, not the Father's will, Gentiles. And because of that, you're going to have to pay, just like us. We did things by our will, not the Father's. And we, our forefathers, had to pay. We were born into this judgment, whilst them, the Gentiles, were born into their blessing. Talking smack the whole time. Now y'all just need to pull yourselves up by your bootstraps. You just need to do this. You just need to do that. Y'all niggas ain't nothing. Y'all ain't this. Y'all ain't that. And the whole time we going, I guess we ain't. But the good news is we are. We are somebody. In the biggest way possible, we are somebody. We are the Father's seed. That's huge. That's massive. And that's the Father. That's why these folks can't handle it. They can't handle this weight that they've created, that they've been carrying. It was okay when they were in their blessings and we were downtrodden. They could carry that weight of these lies and all the things that they've done in their past. They could carry that weight. Oh, Jesus died for our forgiveness. Oh, he forgives us. Oh, I love Jesus. Oh. But at the end of the day, now all of that, their history is a heavy weight. It's like a millstone wrapped around, yoked around their neck. This is where we've come. We've come full circle. And that's the good news. This is the beauty. I am so happy to be in this knowledge, in this wisdom. I am so happy. I am so happy that I have a historical understanding of this stuff. I am so happy that I have a biblical understanding of a scriptural, forget biblical, a scriptural understanding of this information. I am so happy about that. I'm so happy that I did so much due diligence at a time when nobody cared. Oh, you stupid. Why are you doing that? You're crazy. You're crazy. That doesn't even make sense. You niggers are nothing. What are you talking about? But I kept on going. And the Most High has blessed me to bless others. And I'm not burying my head in the sand. And I'm not going to bury my talent. See, all that stuff was for us. I mean, just the mere fact of the harvest time. This is the harvest time. The wheat and the tares. Let the tares and the wheat grow, so at the end, I'll just wipe out the tares, and the wheat will be fine. That's where we at. I mean, everything is about us. Everything. That's the good news. They tried to make it about themselves, but they couldn't. It doesn't even make sense what they're talking about. There's no historical truth or evidence, archaeological proof or evidence that they are who they say they are. The only archaeological proof and evidence that we have of who they are, the Horites and the Edomites. Because Edom and the Horites lived in caves. And we know. They can't get no. So what do? They steal and they take. They got all our information as they killed all of us and used it for their own gain, whilst we were in judgment. But somehow they think they're not going to go through judgment. Well, I mean, 7 days, 7 years of tribulation. I mean, we shouldn't even be here for that. This is what these preppers we talk about. We won't be here for that. There'll be a 7. So we got to give. So why are you running? If you're going to be raptured out of here, why are you prepping? What the hell are you prepping for? If you're going to be saved out of tribulation, why are you caring about anything that you care about? Why are you worrying about Ukraine? Why are you worrying about Russia? Why are you caring about all that stuff? Because it was me, and I knew that, at the end, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get raptured out of here. You know what? You can do what you want. I don't care. Have it. I'm gone. Deuces. But these people seem oddly strange in how they approach their rapture, because they're prepping. Oh, I got to get this water. I got to get these guns. I got to get these bullets. Wait, I thought you were going to leave. Why you need to get all this material, exoteric, physical stuff when you going into the esoteric world? Help me understand that concept, Gentile. Oh, well, you can just leave my channel. Whoa, see, I can't even have a conversation with you. Now you getting offended because my understanding of what I know is different than yours. This is why we have to maintain and stay steady with the Father. Because every time that we come to them, or every time that we question them, they show they reveal their ignorance and their colors. The good news, Israel, Isaiah 43, 1 through 5. Israel, the Lord who created you says, do not be afraid. I will save you. I have called you by name. You are mine. When you pass through deep waters, I will be with you. Your troubles will not overwhelm you. When you pass through fire, you will not be burned. The hard trials that come will not hurt you. For I am the Lord your God, the holy God of Israel, who saves you. I will give up Egypt to set you free. I will give up Ethiopia and Seba. I will give up whole nations to save your life, because you are precious to me and because I love you and give you honor. Do not be afraid. I am with you. From the distant east and to the farthest west, I will bring your people home. Hallelujah, or hallelujah. Hallelujah. Let me do something here to that version. Oh, why? I don't want that. Bear with me one moment. Here we go. Let's read it, because see, we need to read this properly, right? We need to read this properly. Not to say the King James is the proper one, but it makes more sense. It resonates more than these other revisions that they've given us, okay? Isaiah 43, 1-5. The good news, Israel. Hear, O Israel, the good news. But now thus saith the Lord that created thee, O Jacob, and he that formed thee, O Israel, fear not, for I have redeemed thee. I have called thee by thy name. Thou art mine. When thou passest through the waters, I will be with thee, and through the rivers, they shall not overflow thee. When thou walkest through the fire, thou shalt not be burned, neither shall the flame kindle upon thee. For I am the Lord thy God, the Holy One of Israel, thy Savior. I gave Egypt for thy ransom, Ethiopia and Seba for thee. Since thou wast precious in my sight, thou hast been honorable, and I have loved thee. Therefore will I give men for thee, and people for thy life. Fear not, for I am with thee. I will bring thee thy seed from the east and gather thee from the west. Completely different. He's clearly talking to Jacob and Israel, right? Clearly talking about how he will save us. This is the beauty of our people. This is the beauty of the times that we're in. This is the beauty of the times that we're in. The Gentiles got nothing to say to us. They can't refute anything we're saying. We get to show their bastardization. We get to show their ignorance. We get to show their lack of wisdom. We get to correct them now. The whole time doing it by the will of the Father. So there's no comeback. They got no retort. They can't fight us physically. They can't do nothing, because this is the will of the Father. This is the beauty, Israel. This is the beauty, family. This is the good news. All the brothers and sisters that's teaching, that's bringing forth information, that's keeping us in the proper resonance, all praises to you. Blessings and peace and shalom to you. All those brothers and sisters that are looking to get into this and need to know how to do so, may the Father bless you with the Holy Spirit to give you understanding and wisdom. To all the people who are naysayers and negative and says that they don't believe any of this, may the Father judge you swiftly as the eagle flies. Swiftly will you be judged. For all our brothers and sisters that are out here trying to understand our inheritance, more power to you. Continue. We've got a long way to go and a short time to get there. This truth is ours. Take hold of it. Love it. Maintain it. Because there is no greater love than the love of the Father. All praises to the Most High, the Father of Abraham, Jacob, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, to the Holy Spirit, who has provided us with wisdom and utterance and insight and revelation, and to Yahweh Shai, who came to give us understanding of how to walk this walk, talk this talk, and love the way we're supposed to each other. All praises. Shalom.